The 11th session of the Senate in the first regular session of the 20th Congress is hereby called to order. May I request everyone to please rise and bow your heads for a minute of silent prayer.
Thank you. Secretary, please call the roll.
Roll call of members. The Honorable Senator Aquino, Senator Cayetano Alan, Senator Cayetano Pia, Senator De La Rosa, Senator Ejercito, Senator Estrada, Senator Gatchalian, Senator Go, Senator Ontiveros, Senator Lacson, Senator Lapid, Senator Legarda, Senator Marcoleta, Senator Marcos, Senator Padilla, Senator Pangilinan, Senator Soto, Senator Tulfo Erwin, Senator Tulfo Rafi, Senator Villanueva, Senator Villar Camille, Senator Villar Mark, Senator Zubiri, the Senate President.
With 21 senators present, Chair declares the presence of a quorum. Majority Floor Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Before we proceed, Mr. President, may I respectfully acknowledge our guests from the gallery. We have with us the guests of Senator Juan Miguel Zubiri, the Secretary of Foreign Affairs and Trade and Chief Executive of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade of New Zealand, the Honorable Bid Corey. He is with New Zealand Ambassador to the Philippines, Her Excellency Dr. Catherine McIntosh, Deputy Head of Mission, Ms. Stacy Quant, Senior Policy Officer, Mr. Connor Timan, Second Secretary, Mr. David Pennycook, and Policy Advisor, Mr. Jao Yabut. We also have with us, Mr. President, guests of Senator Jinggoy Estrada, mayors of Zamboanga del Norte, Mayor Marisa Manigsaka, Municipality of Rizal, Mayor Lorimir Adasa, Municipality of Mutya, Mayor Jed Kimbo, Municipality of Labason, Congresswoman Lani Mercado Revilla is also with us from the 2nd District of Cavite, Vice Governor Ram Revilla Bautista of Cavite. Guests of this representation, Mr. President, LGU officials of Santa Maria, Laguna, led by Mayor Cindy Carolino and Congressman Zaldi Villa of the Lone District of Siquijor. Guest of Senator Marcos, Mayor Lyndon Bruce and Vice Mayor Brandon Bruce of Laurel, Batangas. Guest of Senator Alan Peter Cayetano, Congressman Jerry Perez, 2nd District of Zamboanga City. Mayor Limuel Toto Reyes of the Island Garden of Samal. Mayor Wilfredo Oliva of Iriga City. Guest of Senator De La Rosa, Mayor Zoraida Valentin of Malalag, Davao del Sur. Mayor Jesus Doreza of Hagunoy, Davao del Sur, and Mayor Carl Mondihar of New Lucena, Iloilo. We welcome all of them in this August chamber, Mr. President.
To the aforementioned guests, welcome to your Senate. Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. President, at this juncture, I move that we proceed with the reference of business.
Any objection? Hearing none, Secretary is directed to comply.
Bills on first reading. Senate number 601, an act regulating children's use of social media towards promoting their safety, well-being, and responsible digital usage, Senator Padilla.
To the Committees on Science and Technology and Women, Children, Family Relations, and Gender Equality.
602, imposing death penalty on the heinous crime of security personnel engaged to commit murder and providing penalties for any person who recruit, maintain, use, aid, fund, or train security personnel to commit murder and for other purposes, Senator Padilla.
To the Committee on Justice and Human Rights.
603, an act prohibiting unfair debt collection practices, providing penalties therefore and for other purposes, Senator Padilla.
To the Committee on Banks, Financial Institutions, and Currencies.
604, amending Article 1, Section 5 of RA 9997, the National Commission on Muslim Filipinos Act of 2009, Senator Padilla.
To the Committees on Cultural Communities and Muslim Affairs, Civil Service, Government Organization, and Professional Regulation.
605, an act mandating the inclusion of Philippine history as a separate subject in the high school curriculum, Senator Padilla.
To the Committee on Basic Education.
606, amending RA 1495, an act to include in the curricula of all public and private schools, colleges, and universities courses on the life, works, and writings of Jose Rizal, particularly his novels Nolo Me Tangere and Filibusterismo, authorizing the printing and distribution thereof and for other purposes, Senator Padilla.
To the Committees on Basic Education, Higher Technical Vocational Education, and Finance.
607, strengthening the independence of the Commission on Elections, amending pertinent provisions of BP 881, the Omnibus Election Code as amended, providing funds therefore and for other purposes, Senator Padilla.
To the Committees on Electoral Reforms and People's Participation, Civil Service, Government Organization, and Professional Regulation, and Finance.
608, mandating the adoption of manual voting and counting at the precinct level and automated transmission and canvassing during national, local, and Bangsamoro Autonomous Region of Muslim Mindanao elections, amending RA 8436 as amended and for other purposes, Senator
To the
Padilla.
Committees on Electoral Reforms and People's Participation, and Finance.
609, an act providing for the equal use of Filipino and English languages in all government issuances and documents, Senator Padilla.
To the Committees on Civil Service, Government Organization, and Professional Regulation, Public Information and Mass Media, and Finance.
610, defining untruthful statement and fabricated evidence before Congress in the conduct of their legislative and oversight functions committed by government personnel, providing penalties therefore, Senator Padilla.
To the Committee on Justice and Human Rights.
611, protecting free exercise and enjoyment of religion of students in educational institutions and providing penalties for violations thereof, Senator Padilla.
To the Committees on Basic Education and Higher Technical and Vocational Education.
612, providing assistance to victims of terror attacks, appropriating funds therefore and for other purposes, Senator
To
Padilla.
the Committees on Social Justice, Welfare, and Rural Development, and Finance.
613, prohibiting discrimination on the basis of protected attributes, providing penalties and for other purposes, Senator Padilla.
To the Committees on Social Justice, Welfare, and Rural Development, Cultural Communities, and Muslim Affairs, and Finance.
614, establishing penitentiary systems in regions 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 12, and 13 to decongest the new Bilibid prison and other penal farms and provinces, appropriating funds and for other purposes, Senator Padilla.
To the Committees on Justice and Human Rights, Public Works, and Finance.
615, mandating all public and private hospitals to observe, respect, and accommodate the religious beliefs, practices, and customs of Muslim patients in the delivery of healthcare services and for other purposes, Senator Padilla.
To the Committees on Health and Demography and Cultural Communities and Muslim Affairs.
616, protecting the rights of refugees and stateless persons, establishing the Refugees and Stateless Persons Protection Board and for other purposes, Senator Padilla.
To the Committees on Justice and Human Rights, Foreign Relations, and Finance.
617, mandating the institutionalization, development, training, organization, and administration of ROTC program in higher educational institutions and technical vocational institutions, appropriating funds and for other purposes, Senator Padilla.
To the Committees on Higher Technical and Vocational Education, National Defense and Security, Peace, Unification, and Reconciliation, and Finance.
618, providing for the integration of Bangsamoro history, culture, and identity in the study of Philippine history in basic education, Senator Padilla.
To the Committees on Basic Education and Cultural Communities and Muslim Affairs.
619, amending sections 27 and 28 of RA 9165, the Comprehensive Dangerous Drugs Act of 2002 as amended, imposing the death penalty when the offense is committed by an officer or member of the AFP, the PNP, or any other uniform or law enforcement agency, or an elective official and for other purposes, Senator
To
Padilla.
the Committees on Public Order and Dangerous Drugs and Justice and Human Rights.
620, establishing a business permit and licensing office in every city or municipality in the country and making the position of a business permit and licensing officer mandatory in every city or municipality, amending sections 171, 175, 176, 177, 178, 179, 180, 181, 183, 194, 195, 196, 280, 316, 443, and 454, adding section 490A to RA 7160, the Local Government Code of 1991, Senator Gatchalian.
To the Committees on Local Government, Trade, Commerce, and Entrepreneurship, Ways and Means, and Finance.
621, providing for the Bill of Rights and Obligations of Taxpayers, creating the Office of the National Taxpayer Advocate, appropriating funds and for other purposes, Senator Gatchalian.
To the Committees on Ways and Means, and Finance.
622, providing for the revised Cooperative Code of the Philippines, Senator Gatchalian.
To the Committees on Cooperatives, Constitutional Amendments, and Revision of Codes, Ways and Means, and Finance.
623, prescribing mandatory guidelines on the establishment of and operation of local universities and colleges, Senator
To
Gatchalian.
the Committees on Higher Technical and Vocational Education and Local Government.
624, discontinuing the use of spiral progression approach in basic education curriculum, deleting for the purpose Section 5, Paragraph G of RA 10533, the Enhanced Basic Education Act of 2013, Senator Gatchalian.
To the Committee on Basic Education.
625, creating the National Education Council, defining its powers and functions and appropriating funds therefore, Senator Gatchalian.
To the Committees on Basic Education, Higher Technical Vocational Education, and Finance.
626, amending Section 5, Paragraph 3 of RA 9225, the Citizenship Retention and Reacquisition Act of 2003, Senator Gatchalian.
To the Committee on Justice and Human Rights.
627, prohibiting the use of mobile devices and other electronic gadgets during class hours from kindergarten to senior high school in all public and private education institutions, Senator Gatchalian.
To the Committee on Basic Education.
628, an act renaming the Literacy Coordinating Council to the National Literacy Council, strengthening its powers and functions, streamlining its membership structure, providing its local support mechanisms, repealing RA 7165 as amended and appropriating funds therefore, Senator Gatchalian.
To the Committees on Basic Education, Local Government, and Finance.
609, mandating the automation of National Public School Database, Senator Gatchalian.
To the Committee on Basic Education.
630, increasing the minimum salary grade level of special needs education teachers from salary grade 14 to 22 and appropriating funds therefore, Senator
To
Gatchalian.
the Committees on Civil Service, Government Reorganization and Professional Regulation, Basic Education, and Finance.
631, digitizing all books necessary for public education, establishing the Philippine Online Library, appropriating funds therefore, Senator Gatchalian.
To the Committees on Basic Education, Science and Technology, and Finance.
632, requiring all public telecommunications entities and internet service providers to increase service coverage and deliver a minimum standard for internet connection speed, Senator Gatchalian.
To the Committee on Public Services.
633, promoting the adoption of digital payments for financial transactions of the government and all merchants and for other purposes, Senator Gatchalian.
To the Committees on Banks, Financial Institutions, and Currencies, and Finance.
634, granting enhanced protection to consumers, amending RA 7394, the Consumer Act of the Philippines, Senator Gatchalian.
To the Committee on Trade, Commerce, and Entrepreneurship.
635, establishing a nursing home for homeless and abandoned senior citizens in every city or municipality in the Philippines, appropriating funds and for other purposes, Senator Gatchalian.
To the Committees on Social Justice, Welfare and Rural Development, Local Government, Ways and Means, and Finance.
636, providing a new separation, retirement, and pension system for the military and the uniformed personnel, appropriating funds therefore, Senator Gatchalian.
To the Committees on National Defense and Security, Peace, Unification, and Reconciliation, Government Corporations, and Public Enterprises, Ways and Means, and Finance.
637, providing for the Magna Carta of Barangay Health Workers, Senator Gatchalian.
To the Committees on Health and Demography, Local Government, and Finance.
638, providing indigent job seekers discounted or waived fees and charges and the issuance of certain pre-employment documents issued by government agencies, Senator Gatchalian.
To the Committees on Labor, Employment, and Human Resources Development, and Social Justice, Welfare, and Rural Development.
639, providing for a national energy policy and framework for the establishment of an energy subsidy program, Senator Gatchalian.
To the Committees on Energy, Public Services, and Finance.
640, providing for a national policy and framework for energy advocacy, Senator Gatchalian.
To the Committee on Energy, Civil Service, Government Reorganization, and Professional Regulation, and Finance.
641, institutionalizing transparency in the Philippine downstream oil industry and amending RA 8479, the Downstream Oil Industry Deregulation Act, Senator Gatchalian.
To the Committees on Energy and Ways and Means.
642, mandating the Philippine Postal Corporation to adopt a modernized zone improvement plan code system, Senator Villar M.
To the Committees on Government, Corporations, and Public Enterprises, and Local Government.
643, providing for an increase and an automatic adjustment mechanism in the personal economic relief allowance granted to government employees, Senator Villar M.
To the Committees on Civil Service, Government Reorganization, and Professional Regulation, and Finance.
644, providing for the Magna Carta for public disaster risk reduction and management workers, Senator Villar M.
To the Committees on National Defense and Security, Peace, Unification, and Reconciliation, Civil Service, Government Reorganization, and Professional Regulation, and Finance.
645, providing 13-month pay to government contractual and job order personnel, Senator Villar M.
To the Committees on Civil Service, Government Reorganization, and Professional Regulation, and Finance.
646, providing educational benefits to the children of members of the uniformed personnel of the PNP, AFP, BFP, BJMP, Philippine Coast Guard, NBI, PDEA, and Bureau of Corrections and appropriating funds therefore, Senator Villar M.
To the Committees on Civil Service, Government Organization and Professional Regulation, Basic Education, Ways and Means, and Finance.
647, granting incentives and other benefits to rural health unit workers, Senator Villar M.
To the Committees on Local Government and Health and Demography.
648, establishing the Waste Workers Health and Welfare Program, Senator Villar M.
To the Committees on Labor, Employment, and Human Resources Development and Finance.
649, enhancing workers' protection and skills development in course of digital economy job description, Senator Villar M.
To the Committees on Labor and Employment, Human Resource Development, Science and Technology, and Finance.
650, an act instituting policies to prevent and address acts of bullying and other similar acts in the workplace, Senator Villar M.
To the Committees on Labor, Employment, and Human Resource Development, Civil Service, Government Organization, and Finance.
Additional reference of business bills on first reading, Senate number 651, an act institutionalizing a national telemedicine system in the Philippines, Senator Villar M.
To the Committees on Health and Demography and Finance.
652, providing for a Magna Carta for students and for other purposes, Senator Marcos.
To the Committees on Basic Education, Higher Technical Vocational Education, Ways and Means, and Finance.
653, providing for the Magna Carta for tricycle drivers and operators, appropriating funds and for other purposes, Senator Marcos.
To the Committees on Public Services, Local Government, and Finance.
654, establishing the Disability Support Fund for the empowerment, full participation, and inclusion of persons with disabilities in society, appropriating funds and for other purposes, Senator Marcos.
To the Committees on Social Justice, Welfare and Rural Development, and Finance.
655, integrating the subject on climate change education into the science curriculum of grades 2 to senior high school of the Philippine education system, both private and public, Senator Marcos.
To the Committees on Basic Education and Environment, Natural Resources, and Climate Change.
656, urging the comprehensive planning, development, and export promotion of the Filipino mango and providing funds therefore, Senator Marcos.
To the Committees on Agriculture, Food and Agrarian Reform, Trade, Commerce, and Entrepreneurship, and Finance.
657, urging the comprehensive planning, development, and export promotion of pineapples and providing funds therefore, Senator Marcos.
To the Committees on Agriculture, Food and Agrarian Reform, Trade, Commerce, and Entrepreneurship, and Finance.
658, urging the comprehensive planning, development, and export promotion of banana, providing funds therefore, Senator Marcos.
To the Committees on Agriculture, Food and Agrarian Reform, Trade, Commerce, and Entrepreneurship, and Finance.
659, urging the comprehensive planning, development, and export promotion of the dragon fruit, providing funds therefore, Senator Marcos.
To the Committees on Agriculture, Food and Agrarian Reform, Trade, Commerce, and Entrepreneurship, and Finance.
660, urging the comprehensive planning, development, and export promotion of moringa, locally known as malunggay, providing funds therefore, Senator Marcos.
To the Committees on Agriculture, Food and Agrarian Reform, Trade, Commerce, and Entrepreneurship, and Finance.
661, an act recognizing the civil effects of church decreed annulment, Senator Zubiri.
To the Committee on Women, Children, Family Relations, and Gender Equality.
662, requiring critical information infrastructure institutions to adopt and implement adequate measures to protect their information and communications technology systems and infrastructure, Senator Zubiri.
To the Committees on Science and Technology and Finance.
663, defining and penalizing espionage and other offenses against national security, Senator Zubiri.
To the Committee on National Defense and Security, Peace, Unification, and Reconciliation.
664, penalizing foreign interference in the Philippines and creating the Counter Foreign Interference Council and for other purposes, Senator Zubiri.
To the Committees on National Defense and Security, Peace, Unification, and Reconciliation, and Justice and Human Rights.
665, providing for the establishment and support of a drug abuse treatment and rehabilitation center in every region throughout the Philippines, appropriating funds therefore, Senator Go.
To the Committees on Public Order and Dangerous Drugs, Health and Demography, and Finance.
666, regulating the planning, design, construction, occupancy, and maintenance of buildings, promoting building resilience versus fire, flood, storm, earthquake, and multiple hazards, enacting a new Philippine Building Act, thereby repealing PD 1096 and for other purposes, Senator Go.
To the Committees on Public Works and Finance.
667, providing enhanced protection, security, and benefits for media and entertainment workers, Senator Go.
To the Committees on Labor and Employment and Human Resource Development, Public Information, and Mass Media.
668, an act fully recognizing the services of social workers by ensuring competitive remuneration and compensation packages, appropriating funds therefore, Senator Go.
To the Committees on Civil Service, Government Reorganization and Professional Regulation, Social Justice, Welfare and Rural Development, and Finance.
669, amending RA 10121, the Philippine Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Act of 2010 for the purpose of granting hazard pay to disaster response personnel during state of calamity, Senator Go.
To the Committees on National Defense and Security, Peace, Unification, and Reconciliation, Ways and Means, and Finance.
670, providing protection and incentives for freelance workers, Senator Go.
To the Committees on Labor, Employment, and Human Resources Development, and Ways and Means.
671, institutionalizing the Pambansang Pabahay para sa Pilipino program, Senator Go.
To the Committees on Urban Planning, Housing and Resettlement, Local Government, and Finance.
672, requiring the inclusion of financial literacy and entrepreneurship as a separate core subject in the junior and senior high school curricula of the K-12 program, amending RA 10679, the Youth Entrepreneurship Act, Senator Go.
To the Committees on Basic Education and Youth.
673, establishing a mandatory crop insurance coverage for small farmers, providing for national government subsidy and for other purposes, Senator Go.
To the Committees on Agriculture, Food and Agrarian Reform, Government Corporations and Public Enterprises, and Finance.
674, providing for a Magna Carta of Government Accountants, Senator Go.
To the Committees on Civil Service, Government Reorganization, and Professional Regulation and Finance.
675, strengthening the practice of midwifery as a profession in the Philippines, providing funds therefore, repealing RA 7392, the Philippines Midwifery Act of 1992, Senator Go.
To the Committees on Civil Service, Government Reorganization, and Professional Regulation and Finance.
676, institutionalizing the assistance to individuals in crisis situation program of the DSWD, providing penalties for the violation of unlawful acts and appropriating funds therefore,
To the-
Senator Go.
To the Committees on Social Justice, Welfare, and Rural Development and Finance.
677, providing for a system of earlier voting for qualified senior citizens, pregnant women, and persons with disabilities of the Philippines, appropriating funds and for other purposes, Senator Go.
To the Committees on Electoral Reforms and People's Participation, Social Justice, Welfare, and Rural Development and Finance.
678, institutionalizing the National Tertiary Games and appropriating funds therefore, Senator Go.
To the Committees on Higher Technical and Vocational Education, Sports, and Finance.
679, promoting entrepreneurship by establishing a sustainable financing program for micro and small enterprises through the Pondo sa Pagbabago at Pag-asenso program, appropriating funds therefore, Senator Go.
To the Committees on Trade, Commerce, and Entrepreneurship, Economic Affairs, and Finance.
680, providing post-harvest facilities to farmers, appropriating funds therefore, Senator Go.
To the Committees on Agriculture, Food, and Agrarian Reform, Public Works, and Finance.
681, institutionalizing the fertilizer and pesticide subsidy program under the Department of Agriculture, appropriating funds therefore, Senator Go.
To the Committees on Agriculture, Food, and Agrarian Reform, and Finance.
682, modernizing the Philippine Coast Guard, creating for the purpose the Philippine Coast Guard Modernization Trust Fund and appropriating funds therefore, Senator Go.
To the Committees on Public Services, National Defense and Security, Peace, Unification, and Reconciliation, and Finance.
683, providing for a simplified process for the admission of drug dependents in government drug rehabilitation facilities, amending Section 54 and 77 of RA 9165, the Comprehensive Dangerous Drugs Act of 2002, Senator Go.
To the Committees on Public Order and Dangerous Drugs and Health and Demography.
684, granting educational benefits or incentives to the children of fallen military and uniformed personnel and for other purposes, Senator Go.
To the Committees on Basic Education, Higher Technical and Vocational Education, and Finance.
685, providing for a national housing development production and financing program, regularizing its appropriation and for its implementation, Senator Go.
To the Committees on Urban Planning, Housing and Resettlement, Sustainable Development Goals, Innovation and Futures Thinking, Ways and Means, and Finance.
686, prohibiting the operation and conduct of online gambling activities in the Philippines, Senator Go.
To the Committees on Games and Amusements and Banks, Financial Institutions, and Currencies.
687, instituting a national autism care plan, establishing a subcommittee on autism under the National Council on Disability Affairs and providing funds therefore, Senator Ontiveros.
To the Committees on Health and Demography, Women, Children, Family Relations, and Gender Equality, and Finance.
688, strengthening the national program for the elimination of tuberculosis, amending for the purposes of RA 10767 or the Comprehensive Tuberculosis Elimination Plan Act, Senator Ontiveros.
To the Committees on Health and Demography, Higher Technical and Vocational Education, Ways and Means, and Finance.
689, authorizing the Department of Health to set and approve the bed capacity and service capability of all DOH hospitals, Senator Ontiveros.
To the Committees on Health and Demography and Finance.
690, allowing foreign nationals to take local licensure examinations for certification purposes, amending RA 8981, the PRC Modernization Act of 2000, Senator Lapid.
To the Committee on Civil Service, Government Organization, and Professional Regulation.
691, amending Section 2 of Act Number 3326, an act to establish periods of prescription for violations of penalized by special acts and municipal ordinances and to provide when prescription shall begin to run, Senator Lapid.
To the Committee on Justice and Human Rights.
692, amending RA 8047, the Book Publishing Industry Development Act, providing for the scanning and conversion of public school textbooks into e-books and other digital formats, Senator Lapid.
To the Committees on Basic Education and Science and Technology.
693, an act ensuring the welfare and protection of business process outsourcing workers in the Philippines, Senator Lapid.
To the Committee on Labor, Employment, and Human Resource Development.
694, providing for the mandatory appointment of building official in provinces, cities, and municipalities, amending RA 7160, the Local Government Code of 1991, as amended, Senator Lapid.
To the Committees on Local Government and Civil Service, Government Organization, and Professional Regulation.
695, providing for compressed working hours arrangement in the private sector and for other purposes, thereby amending Articles 83, 85, and 87 of PD 442, as amended, otherwise known as the Labor Code of the Philippines, Senator Lapid.
To the Committee on Labor, Employment, and Human Resource Development.
696, an act establishing a national policy of free housing through use of RAC, providing funds therefore and for other purposes, Senator Lapid.
To the Committees on Urban Planning, Housing and Resettlement, Local Government, and Finance.
697, establishing a green public procurement program for all branches of government, Senator Lapid.
To the Committees on Sustainable Development Goals, Innovation, and Futures Thinking, and Finance.
698, establishing a nursing home for qualified homeless and abandoned senior citizens in every city or municipality in the Philippines, appropriating funds and for other purposes, Senator Lapid.
To the Committees on Social Justice, Welfare and Rural Development, Local Government, Ways and Means, and Finance.
699, an act to strengthen human rights education and the System of Legal Assistance for Migrant Workers, amending Section 23 of RA 8042, the Migrant Workers and Overseas Filipinos Act of 1995, as amended. Senator Lapid.
To the Committee on Migrant Workers.
Senate Number 700, an act preserving the indigenous games of the Philippines and appropriating funds therefore. Senator Lapid.
To the Committees on Culture and the Arts, Sports, and Finance. Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. President, Senator Zubiri seeking the floor. I move that he be
What
recognized.
is the pleasure of the Honorable Zubiri?
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, my apologies. I should have taken this up in last week's session, but my reso on the U.S. tariffs, I filed a reso on the economic impacts on the U.S. tariffs on the Philippines. It was referred to the Committee on Ways and Means and as the primary committee and Trade and Industry Secondary Committee. This is Senate Resolution number 62. Is it possible, Mr. President, with your permission of the body, that we just refer it to my committee, as I don't have anything to do anyway, Mr. President? Very few bills are referred to me, and so that I can take it up.
What does the Majority Floor Leader say?
We have no objection, Mr. President.
So the
if
chair takes, what is the the chair will now take the manifestation of the Honorable Zubiri as a motion, concurred into by the
Yes.
Majority Floor Leader. Therefore, the aforestated Senate, proposed Senate Resolution
Number 62, Mr. President.
number 62, the referral thereof shall be transferred from the Committee on
Ways and Means and Trade and Industry.
Ways and Means
And Trade and Industry as secondary.
and Trade and
Mr.
Industry, a secondary committee, to the Committee on Economic Affairs, with the secondary committees still remaining, namely Ways and Means and Trade.
President. Yes, Mr. President. That is the accurate, Mr. President.
Any objection?
Thank you. I'll just say thank you.
Before acting on the motion, Senator Aimee filed a similar resolution. Can we likewise refer it to the Committee on Economic Affairs? Session is suspended.
Mr.
Majority Floor Leader.
During the lull, Mr. President, we were able to talk to stakeholders, Mr. President, and therefore I will move now that the referral of PS Resolution number 40 and PS Resolution number 62 be referred in the Economic Affairs Committee as the primary committee, secondary committee, Foreign Affairs and Foreign Relations, Mr. President, and the third committee would be the Ways and Means. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, motion of the Majority Leader changing the referral of the aforestated proposed Senate resolution is deemed changed accordingly.
Thank you very much, Mr. Senate President. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. President,
What
the
is the
minority
pres-
leader is seeking the floor. Move that he be recognized, Mr. President.
What is the pleasure of the distinguished Minority Floor Leader?
Mr. President, in coordination with the leadership of the majority in the Senate leadership through Senator Alan Cayetano, I move that we elect Senator Loren Legarda, Senator Risa Ontiveros, and Senator Mig Zubiri as members of the Commission on Appointments.
Any objection? Hearing none, the aforestated members, namely Senators Zubiri, Legarda, and Ontiveros, are deemed elected to the Commission on Appointments.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you. Mr. President, at this juncture and pursuant to Article 6, Section 17 of the 1987 Constitution, I move to elect the following as members of the Senate Electoral Tribunal. On the part of the majority, Senators Pia Cayetano, Robin Hood Padilla, Kiko Pangilinan, Camille Villar, and Senator Alan Cayetano. So move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, the aforementioned members are deemed elected to the Senate Electoral Tribunal.
Mr. President,
Minority leaders recognized.
may I move that we elect Senator Pampilo Lacson as a member of the Senate Electoral Tribunal on the part of the minority.
Any objection? There being none, Senator Lacson is so elected to the Senate Electoral Tribunal on the part of the minority. Majority Leader.
Yes, Mr. President. Mr. President, at this juncture, and again pursuant to Rule 10, Section 13 of our rules, I move to elect the following senators as members of the Committee on Environment, Natural Resources, and Climate Change. For vice chairpersons, Mr. President, Senator Zubiri is seeking the floor.
What is the pleasure of the Honorable
He be
Zubiri?
recognized, Mr. President.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I'd just like to put on record my deep appreciation on the move of Senator Alan Cayetano, who allowed me to take the first half of the CA seat, the 0.5, Your Honor, Mr. President. I allowed me to take the first year and a half. I'd like to thank his magnanimity and his diplomatic approach to the situation. And I just want to put that on record. My deep appreciation also to the majority for allowing this to happen. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Your Honor. Yesterday, the chair also thanked Senator Cayetano's magnanimity yesterday. Majority Floor Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, again, I move that we elect the following senators as members of the Committee on Environment, Natural Resources, and Climate Change. For vice chairperson, Senators De La Rosa, Erwin Tulfo, and Pia Cayetano. And for members, Senators Padilla, Mark Villar, Lito Lapid, Bongo, Amy Marcos, Win Gatchalian, and Francis Pangilinan. And for the minority, Senators Legarda, Ontiveros, and Lacson. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Aforementioned members are deemed so elected to the Committee on Environment, Natural Resources, and Climate Change.
Mr. President, again, pursuant to Rule 10, Section 13 of our rules, I move to elect the following senators as members of the Committee on Public Works. For Vice Chairperson, Senators Ejercito, Erwin Tulfo, and Amy Marcos. And for members, Senators Rafi Tulfo, Bato de la Rosa, Bongo, Camille Villar, and Senator Robin Hood Padilla. And for the minority, Senators Legarda and Lacson. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, the aforementioned members are deemed elected accordingly to the Committee on Public Works.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this juncture, I move to elect the following senators as members of the Committee on Rules. For Vice Chairpersons, Senators Ejercito and Marcoleta. And for members, Senators Win Gatchalian, Alan Cayetano, Mark Villar, Bato de la Rosa. And for the minority, Senator Loren Legarda. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, the aforementioned members are deemed so elected accordingly to the Committee on Rules.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. At this juncture, the distinguished lady from the city of Taguig and Pateros, Senator Pia Cayetano, is seeking the floor to deliver her privileged speech. I move that she be recognized, Mr. President.
Senator Pia Cayetano, the lady from Taguig, is recognized to deliver her privileged speech. You may proceed, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise on a matter of personal and collective privilege. For the past 2 decades, I have delivered a breastfeeding speech every August in recognition of National Breastfeeding Month. The theme for the World Health Organization's 2025 World Breastfeeding Week is Invest in Breastfeeding, Invest in the Future. Supporting breastfeeding means ensuring mothers have access to the information and help they need to breastfeed for as long as they choose. Why is this information important? I will explain later on as I go through the history of the laws that we have passed. The World Health Organization and United Nations Children's Fund recommend that children initiate breastfeeding within the first hour of birth and be exclusively breastfed for the first 6 months of life. Breastfeeding is the simplest way to give a baby its first immunity and address malnutrition, serving as nature's first immunization. As party to the United Nations 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda, the Philippines is committed to integrate the Sustainable Development Goals into our national development plans and policies. Breastfeeding is shown to affect several of the SDGs, namely SDG 2 on zero hunger, SDG 3 good health and well-being, SDG 4 quality education, SDG 5 gender equality, SDG 10 reduce inequalities, SDG 12 responsible consumption and production, SDG 13 climate action, SDG 17 partnership for the goals. What can we do better? according to the 2023 National Nutrition Survey, only 50.4% of babies are exclusively breastfed during the first 6 months. So why is this figure important? It means roughly 50% of the babies are not exclusively breastfed. So how are they fed? Well, for some who can afford, they would purchase formula-bought breast milk substitutes, which are clearly not as nutritious as mother's milk. And they also have their form of danger because when a family is either in a crisis situation or lives in poverty and they do not have access to clean water, then the formula milk that they serve their baby with water that is unclean can also lead to many illnesses, including deaths for babies. So that is the problem, even if they have the ability to purchase formula milk. And for others, they make do with homemade alternatives that are not necessarily nutritious, are definitely not as nutritious. So they would make what they call which is water from bigas, from the rice. Kasi sa Tinagalog ko, bigas. Yung tubig, di ba maputi yun? Pagkatapos mong hugasan yung bigas, ang tawag doon, So yun yung pinapainom nila sa baby that has almost zero nutritional value. So marami hong mga ganyan. Tapos yung iba, condensed milk, evaporated milk, ihahalo lang sa tubig. And this is really not what an infant needs. That's why importante itong figure na tandaan natin na only 50% of babies are exclusively breastfed for the first 6 months. So we have a long way to go, Mr. President. Now, what began as a call to recognize the nutritional and developmental value of breast milk has since evolved into a sustained legislative and public health campaign. Through laws that regulate the marketing of breast milk substitute, mandate workplace lactation support, and promote breastfeeding awareness, we have gradually built the foundation for a more breastfeeding-friendly Philippines. It is important to acknowledge the progress that we have achieved through the different legislative measures. So here's a brief history, my dear colleagues. 1986. Napanganak na kaya si Camille noon? Anyway, tagal na to 1986. Executive Order Number 51 or the Philippine Milk Code was promulgated. Napaka-importanting batas nito, but I will just highlight a few points. It prohibits the advertising, promotion, or sponsorship of breast milk substitutes, feeding bottles, and teats intended for infants up to 24 months. When I became a senator in 2004, 21 years ago, mainit ho ang diskusyon nito because many hospitals, including our own public hospitals, were still advertising, were still promoting, were still sponsoring formula milk. Ang lakaran po doon, yung sales rep pupunta sa ospital tapos nagre-regalo na yan sa nanay ng lata ng gatas. Si nanay naman, not knowing, I don't even think I knew it also when I was a young mother. Di thank you, nilagluhan mo ako ng gatas, di ba? But sino ba naman hindi magte-thank you? But what they don't know is, pag naumpisahan mo ang baby mo ng formula milk, di syempre, less ang pagsuso niya sa'yo kasi nga, may iba kang pinapakain. And the milk supply of a mother is supply and demand. The more a baby sucks, the more there will be milk. So the more na may magregalo ng milk, the more na hindi na makaka-produce ng gatas ang nanay. And then tuloy-tuloy na siyang wala ng supply, tuloy-tuloy na siyang magiging dependent sa formula milk. Ang tindi ng laban nito, mga colleagues, no, mga kababayan na nakikinig sa atin. Ang tinding laban nito kasi talagang pinipilit ng mga milk companies na magbigay ng ganyang libreng mga gatas sa mga ospital. Sa pagkakaalam ko, we have been quite successful kasi wala na ho akong nababalitaan, wala na akong naririnig. Pero consider this a call to DOH, to the LGU executives na tingnan nyo, let's be sure na hindi na ho tumabalik, hindi na ho tayo masingitan ng ganito. The another thing that's very important, understanding this issue on sponsorship, siguro many of you will say, pero I see commercials na pinopromote yung milk formula, yung tinatawag na breast milk substitutes. Well, supposedly, hindi yan dapat na po-promote. for under 6 months and below. There was a time, and I still believe in it, gusto ko nga 24 months pa onward ang pag-promote. Kasi yung 24 months, medyo toddler na yan. Eh ano ba difference nung baby na 6 months, 7 months, 8 months? I don't think most people can tell the difference by looking at a baby in an advertisement. So when you see a baby in an advertisement, hindi sila lumalabag dun sa law, pero kasi yung law natin, medyo mababa yung age na pwede nang i-promote yan. So that's still something that I wish we had the political will to do para lalong ma-promote ang pagbe-breastfeed. Kasi alam niyo na yung style ng promotion, sasabihin na pag ito yung gatas na inom ng baby mo, magiging matalino siya, magiging star pupil siya, magiging matangkad siya. Eh hindi po. The best way na maging lahat siya na ganun, eh dumede siya sa nanay niya. The next law is RA 7600 or the Rooming In and Breastfeeding Act in 1992 authored by the late Senator Ed Angara. Ito po yung law na nagre-require na pagkapanganak, dun agad yung baby sa room ng mommy as the picture shows. Kasi dati, kasama yan sa nagpapakahirap sa nanay na maging successful ang kanyang pag-breastfeed kasi yung baby niya nasa nursery. So ayaw din niya ng mga milk companies na mapasa din itong batas na to. Kasi the more na yung baby malayo sa baby, the more na pag iniyak, at yun yung sinasabi ng nurse, umiyak eh. Tapos bibigyan nila ng formula. Pero kung ang baby kasama na agad ng mommy, pag iyak, dede ng mommy kaagad ang ibibigay sa kanya. So this is a very important law in 1992. And then in 2006, I filed my first bill to promote breastfeeding in the country. I authored Senate Bill number 2490 or the Breastfeeding Promotion Act. We passed it, but unfortunately, it stalled in the House of Representatives. So nagsustall din sa kanila paminsan-minsan, hindi lang naman po sa atin, kasi may gusto sanang i-interrupt sana ako ng majority floor leader to say that kasi sinabi ko na para sa inyong lahat. In 2007, no need to say sorry. In 2007, I refiled my bill in the 14th Congress, Senate Bill number 761, which sought to require lactation station in public places and in private and government offices. It also mandated employers to allow milk breaks for nursing employees. So ngayon, so finally pumasa to in 2009. It's called the Expanded Breastfeeding Promotion Act of 2009. And this is why when you go to malls, when you go to bus stations, when you go to airports, you will see these breastfeeding stations. Ito po yun. Ito po yung batas natin that has been in place for some 15 years. And I'm very grateful. Nakikita ko to sa mga, kahit saan ako nakakarating sa Pilipinas. Pero kung may nakita kayong public place na tingin nyo kailangan yan, pakireport na lang sa DOH or sabihin nyo yung administrator doon because this is the law and it needs to be followed. What's also interesting to note, dear colleagues, is that itong lactation stations natin are also available in the Senate and in the House of Representatives. The lactation station in the Senate is also my project with our Gender and Development Office. Circa what year? I think this was before my second term ended in 2016. I also want to point out that here, one of the reasons I take time delivering this speech is because many of us have female colleagues. Many of them are mothers. Many of them have given birth, and many of them would like to breastfeed. And one way we can support them is, of course, this breastfeeding room, which is open to the public. The good news here is I've heard reports where a resource person would attend the hearing, nagbe-breastfeed siya. Alam niyo naman yung hearing natin, minsan aabutin ng 4 na oras, 6 na oras, and they were very relieved to know that, pakibalik lang yung picture, to know that may breastfeeding room tayo. But I also want to take the opportunity to commend my staff. I have many female staff, including my lawyers, including my personal staff, who are models for the working mom breastfeeding life. There are dozens of photos of them discreetly discreetly breastfeeding behind the scene. Whatever work their principals are doing, they're still there discreetly breastfeeding. So I encourage our colleagues to take note of this kasi these are working moms na even though napasa na natin yung 105 expanded maternity leave law sponsored by Senator Risa here in the Senate and which I authored when I was in the House, kailangan pa rin nila ng support while they are working with us. So, on the last point, this is an ongoing challenge for us. My office and I personally have breastfeeding seminars all over the country kasi ang laking tipid, I don't think I emphasized that yet, ang laking tipid for a family to be able to rely on a breastfeeding mom's milk. Ang laki ng, imagine if for 1 year nakakapag-breastfeed siya, ang laking bagay nun sa health ng anak niya, pero ang laking tipid din sa ibang gastusin dun sa pamilya. So I hope DOH continues the work. Tayo naman po nag-advocate lang nito. But we call on all our colleagues to support this. And one last point is in the Breastfeeding Promotion Act that we passed, it calls on DepEd, CHED, and TESDA to incorporate in the courses. Doesn't mean that you have to have a separate course dedicated to this. Hindi ganun yun. Ini-incorporate lang. So when you talk about family life, when you talk about health and nutrition, naka-incorporate yan sa courses nila. So I think that is the end of my breastfeeding lecture for everyone. I hope that you will all be supportive of your female staff and breastfeeding culture in the Philippines. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Cayetano. Majority Floor Leader.
Yes, Mr. President. First to interpolate is one of our breastfeeding champions of the Senate, no other than Senator Bato de la Rosa. I move that he be recognized, Mr. President.
Senator De La Rosa, our breastfeeding champion, is
Thank you,
so
Mr.
recognized.
President.
You may proceed, sir, with the permission of the lady.
Actually, Mr. President, this is not an interpolation, just a short manifestation that for the record, since the senatorial comeback of the good lady from Pateros, Senator Pia, in the 19th Congress, she has been advocating for this breastfeeding, and for the record, I've been very supportive of her advocacy. Nakatatlong Congress na po tayo, and I want to be consistent. This time around, I want to support you because I myself, I really love breastfeeding, Mr. President. You know why? Please don't get me wrong. You know why? Kasi siyam kaming magkapatid na lumaki through breastfeeding ng aking nanay. And kapag darating yung panahon na tutuyo na yung gatas sa paano tawag yan? Tutoy sa amin sa Bisaya.
Tutoy, dede.
Yung tutoy ng aking nanay, lalo na yung medyo lumaki na ako, utusan kagad ako ng nanay. Oy, magsaing ka na. Kahit na hindi panahon pa na magsaing, i-advance mo na yung kakainin natin mamayang hapunan, magsaing ka na. You know why? What's the purpose of that? Totoo yung sabi ni Senator Pia na kung daw, hindi siya nutritious yung arms, yung from the rice. Arms from the rice.
Walang S,
Basta sa amin, kung yun ano yun, laot sa bigas. Pero yung sa amin, hindi yung sabi mo na huhugasan yung bigas. Kundi talagang lulutuin yung bigas. Habang kumukulo yung bigas, ibabawas namin yung tubig, kukunin tubig at yun ilagay sa bibiron at pinapadidi sa amin. Hindi nga siya nutritious but it served the purpose.
Yeah.
Dahil tatahimik na kami. Yung bata kapag nakadidi na ng arms na galing sa bigas, tahimik na kami dahil busog na eh. May laman na yung tiyan namin. So I really appreciate parents na talagang nagsumikap na ma-breastfeed yung kanilang mga anak. Dahil kung lalo na yung working, yung nanay ko nagtitinda sa palengke ng isda, talagang siguruhin niya yan na bago siya aalis, ma-breastfeed yung mga kapatid ko. At pag minsan, wala siya doon sa palengke, hinahatid ko yung kapatid ko doon sa palengke para i-breastfeed ng nanay ko. So, that's the reason why I love breastfeeding. Iba yung iniisip ninyo, kaya huwag kayong tumawa dyan. That's for the record, Mr. President. Thank you, and I am very supportive of Senator Pia's advocacy. Thank you, Mr. President.
And I
Thank
just
you.
want to thank the gentleman for sharing that. It seems to be a core memory for him. Ako naman yung nanay ko, dinadala sa office ko yung anak ko para magpatuloy ng breastfeeding kasi after ng maternity leave na 60 days, ang hirap na hirap ako sa first few days kung paano ko iaano yung gatas ko. So yung mami ko dinadala niya. So same as you would do with your siblings. And I just also want to thank Senator Bato for sharing this story because and I've also shared this before. When I first started delivering these breastfeeding speeches, hindi nag-uumpisa pala yung speech ko, tumatawa na yung mga kalalakihan dito. So I thank the gentleman na hindi naman kayo tumawa nung nagsispeech ako kasi hindi naman nakakatawa ang breastfeeding. Natawa na lang kayo kay Senator Bato because sadyang nakakatawa naman siya. Pero niliwanag niya ang ibig niya sabihin. So thank you for that. Thank you for that kasi importanteng maintindihan talaga natin yung kahalagahan ng subject matter na ito.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator, but the majority floor leader.
Mr. President, hindi po ako kasama dun sa iniisip ni Senator Bato na may iniisip na iba. And that's why I am a big fan of Senator Bato and I know that he is indeed a champion for breastfeeding in this August chamber. Next, Mr. President, to interpolate is the distinguished gentleman from Palawan, no other than Senator Erwin Tulfo. I move that he be recognized.
Senator Erwin Tulfo is recognized for his interjections. You may proceed, sir, with the permission of the lady who has the floor.
Of course.
Mr. President, it's not an interpolation, rather a manifestation of my full support for Senator Pia Cayetano's privileged speech on the importance of breastfeeding. This month of August, as we commemorate both World Breastfeeding Month and our very own National Breastfeeding Awareness, it is timely that we renew our commitment to the welfare of Filipino moms and their children. With the kind indulgence of the Honorable Lady from Taguig, may I pose a few questions, not to challenge, rather to underscore the significance of the issues she raised.
Of course.
Mr. President, question is, how much funding, public funding, is actually allocated to ensure these programs reach the women who need them most? Because if it's not enough, Mr. President, then we can probably, this budget season, we can ask the Department of Health to increase so that we can further help these mothers on their breastfeeding campaign.
Thank you for that question, Mr. President. For 2025, there is a budget of 25.9 million, so almost 26 million for optimal infant and young child feeding practices, which includes breastfeeding promotions. These are all under the Disease Prevention and Control Bureau budget. So my understanding is this is not entirely for breastfeeding. So part lang yan. Your question is so important, Mr. President, because when I mentioned the history and how milk companies have a lot of ads, may budget sila for ads, and they are promoting milk in a can. Wala naman tayong budget for promoting milk from mother's breast. Wala. The most lang na requirement is sabihin lang nila na mother's milk is best. There's a standard statement na ganon. So definitely, Mr. President, yung idea po ng ating colleague to increase the budget would be very welcome. Thank you.
Right. The next question, Mr. President, are there enough breastfeeding stations, not just in commercial establishments like malls, but more importantly, government offices and other public places, particularly in the provinces, Mr. President?
I doubt very much if there is any entity that has really checked how prevalent the public breastfeeding facilities are all over. I can only speak for my own experience kasi nga hinahanap ko yan when I travel. So I can say that in a far-flung terminal, bus terminals mas bihira. Medyo dun minsan kasi maliit lang, tapos wala silang space. But I've seen it in terminal pa ba tawag doon? Yung port. There you go, port. The port, kasi alam ng chief of staff ko yung port kung saan tuntua ako dun sa breastfeeding lactation room was the port from, is it Tubigon, Bohol to Cebu. So meron naman, but I'm so certain, Mr. President, that we can do better.
Because, Mr. President, the lack of these facilities may discourage moms or mothers from breastfeeding in public due to privacy concerns
Yes.
and societal perceptions.
That is absolutely correct, Mr. President.
One last point, Mr. President, what are the common obstacles that prevent mothers from practicing breastfeeding?
Well, thank you, Mr. President. That's my favorite question. So again, I speak from experience, but I think many women have the same experience as me. If you're a working mom, at the time I was a working mom, so this was in the late 90s, early 2000. You only have 60 days maternity leave. So when you leave your baby at 60 days, like in my case, my babies were fully breastfed. My baby was fully breastfed. Pagdating ko sa office, nilagnat ako para ako magkakasakit kasi hindi ako sanay na hindi dumedede regularly yung baby sa akin. So parang yung gatas hindi ko malabas. So ang laki nung adjustment period ko. That's why I was saying that my mother would even bring my baby to me. And then I had to buy and experiment with different pumps. May mahal, may mura. Sa totoo lang nga, ang nag-work yung pinakamurang pump. I was blessed in that sense na nag-work yung murang klaseng pump sa akin. When I had my second baby, nag-upgrade na ako ng electric pump and that was very effective, pero mahal yon. So if offices, and of course this would be the bigger offices, and that's what I also requested, I'm not sure kung meron tayo dito, pero alam ko ni-request ko yon, yung industrialized commercial pump so that it can be used by different women. Maganda sanang investment yon kasi it makes it very efficient to pump the milk while they're at work. So I think that's the number one difficulty for working mothers. Whether you have a regular job or katulad ng sabi ni Senator Bato na yung nanay niya nagbebenta sa palengke, pakahirap ng buhay na yon, nagta-travel siya, namimili ng bibebenta niya, magbebenta. I'm sure walang breastfeeding room dun sa palengke. But nowadays, dapat meron. The other thing, Mr. President, is really acceptance by society. Like I showed you the photos of my staff. Never ko sila pinilit, sila yan. Their maternity leave is done. They're attending the hearings. They wear what you can call like a breastfeeding. It's really the acceptance also of society na choice ng mother yon, kung gusto niyang gawin yon, hindi siya dapat mapahiya or mahiya or ma-embarrass. But like His Honor said, we also have to create these facilities that those who want to just do this in private can also do this in private. So it's also the facilities. But really it's public acceptance and then the promotion, like His Honor said, of breastfeeding versus having to purchase synthetically made milk.
Mr. President, on a personal note, I'm not ashamed to admit that I've always been close to our mother. And that bond has shaped the way I view the role of mothers in our society. For that reason, I hold deep respect and gratitude for all mothers. And I commend Senator Pia Cayetano for her steadfast advocacy in protecting their rights and welfare. Kaisa po ninyo ako, Senator Cayetano. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you. And I've heard wonderful stories about your mother, which your sister shared with me. So I'm happy to know how much she's inspired His Honor. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Tulfo. Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. President, next to Senator Robin Hood Padilla seeking the floor. I move that he be recognized.
Maraming salamat po.
Senator Robin Hood Padilla is recognized for his interjections. You may proceed, sir, with the permission of the lady who has the floor.
Maraming salamat po, Ginoong Pangulo, at sa ating pinunong mayorya. Hindi naman po ako magbibigay ng katanungan, kundi manifestation lang po. Sapagkat ako po ay matagal na naging endorser. Ako po ay naging trabaho ko po yan. Ngayon pong panahon na ito, napakahalaga ng isang katulad po ni Senator Pia Cayetano ang maging champion ng breastfeeding. Sapagkat natatalo po tayo ng mga advertisement, ng mga masasabi natin mga produkto na nakakapagbigay minsan ng maling impormasyon na ang akala nila basta formula okay na. Napakaganda po kanina ng presentasyon ng ating mahal na senadora nung pinakita niya po na halos, tama po ba, 50% lang ng mga Pilipina ang
nakakakompleto nung 6
buwan.
months exclusive breastfeeding, which is yun talagang recommended para yung kompletong nutritional value, emotional value na mabibigay ng breastfeeding mabigay 50% lang.
Opo, sa akin po medyo malungkot po 'yon. sapagkat naniniwala din po ako sa sinabi ni Senator Bato de la Rosa na napakahalaga po talaga. At nakita naman po natin sa pangangatawan ni Senator Bato na talagang maganda ang epekto ng breastfeeding. Ganun din po sa aking anak. Nakita ko po yan dahil ang aking pong may bahay, ang aking pong asawa, si Mariel, siya po ay nag-breastfeeding din. Sa kanya nga po, 2 years hanggang 2 years siya.
Yeah, yan ho ang recommended, 2 years pa.
Opo.
Hanggat kaya ng nanay.
Opo. Nakita ko po yun, no, ma'am, na talagang nung panahon ng COVID, lahat po kami sa bahay nagka-COVID. Pera lang po yung anak namin na nag-breastfeeding.
Wow.
Inshallah, may Allah protect her always. Kaya po hanggang ngayon, hindi ko makalimutan yon kasi last standing po sa bahay namin, yung anak ko na yon. Kaya ako po ay naniniwala at ako po ay sumusuporta po sa inyo. Ito po ay hindi simpleng usapin lang ng nutrisyon. Ang breastfeeding po ay pundasyon ng kalusugan, ng sanggol, ng ina at ng susunod na henerasyon. Ito rin ay karapatang dapat kinikilala hindi lamang sa salita, kundi sa mga konkretong patakaran. Sapat na maternity leave, breastfeeding station sa mga pampubliko at pribadong lugar, at edukasyong nakasandigan sa agham at malasakit. Yun lamang po. Maraming salamat po sa inyo, Senatora.
The manifestation and
Thank you very
interjection of
much,
the Honorable
Senator
Robin Hood Padilla are duly noted. Majority
Mr.
Leader.
President, next to interpolate is the distinguished lady from Antique, no other than Senator Lauren Legarda. I move that she be recognized, Mr. President.
Senator Lauren Legarda is recognized for his interjections with the permission of the lady from the gig.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. It's not really an interpellation, but a manifestation of support for Senator Pia Cayetano, who has, since the time that I've met her here in the Senate, has been regularly advocating for breastfeeding, not only in privileged speeches, but in intervention sometimes when news comes out about something about formula milk, or it's been very, very regular and soulful, if I may say. And I would like to think that the issue of breastfeeding is not only a health and nutrition issue, it's also an emotional issue and a bonding moments with our children. And having had 2 children whom I breastfed, but I was just whispering to Senator Pangilinan, there are some guilt pangs sometimes for working mothers, because I recall I had a cesarean operation, but after 3 weeks, I went back to work. And at that time, that was long ago, the pumps were, of course, manual pumps, and even banking milk or keeping milk
Wasn't a
not
thing.
a regular thing.
Yeah.
So if I may, and this is quite personal, I tried my best, but with the technology now, perhaps it should be easier. It should be more regular for our mothers to breastfeed and to bank them. Which brings me to my message today, and I hope that the good chairman, I'm not sure if it's in your committee, the Breast Milk Banking Act. I'm not certain where this was referred to. The
Probably
Health
health,
Committee.
probably health.
Yes, the chairman is Senator Go. You're a member, I'm certain.
Yeah.
I hope that you will support this after studying it. It aims to modernize and institutionalize breast milk banking, ensuring timely access to safe donor milk for premature, high-risk, and emergency-affected infants. And the bill also mandates a national breast milk banking strategy, expanding regional human milk bank units with satellite banks nationwide, establishing donation areas in hospitals and private medical and non-medical facilities, enforcing standardized safety protocols, and creating a real-time online milk tracking system for efficient distribution, especially during emergencies. So I hope that the good chair of the Health Committee, assuming my proposed measure has been referred to his committee, and our primary advocate of breastfeeding in the Senate and other members of our chamber would support this measure after study. Yes.
Actually, Mr. President, I'm very excited that Her Honor has a bill because it's something I have been advocating also for a couple of decades. We have milk banking existing already,
Yes.
but just like many things, we're
It
very
has to
happy
be
to institutionalize it.
Yes.
So we have in Fabella, we've included it. We actually have 600,000 to support the efforts of Fabella kasi sila yung takbuhan eh. For the information of many, when you have premature babies and if for one reason or another the mother cannot breastfeed or sometimes abandoned babies, very sick babies, sick mothers, then you have this milk bank that has
Yes.
milk. And then we also supported the opening of a milk bank in Vicente Soto. Very ang tagal na
In
po.
Cebu.
Yeah, more than 10 years ago na. And then our own hospital in Taguig Pareros, we also have a milk bank. But yes, we definitely want to institutionalize so that in situations like Her Honor mentioned, like disasters, then may pagkukunan nito. And it gives such a good feeling. I actually donated milk, not through a milk bank, but just through a friend. And till this day, the mom, when she's my friend, when she sees me, she tells her child na, oh, Tita Pia is the one who gave you breast milk when I didn't have breast milk. So can you imagine the support system that we create through this milk bank? So yes, that is a very. I'll be happy to subcommittee if His Honor would like us to proceed.
Yes, perhaps a first hearing. And I'm thank you for that. I was aware that it was already in existence in Fabella. I'm glad to know that in Cebu, Vicente Soto. But I'm told that not all regions have
No, not all. Not all.
banks,
Yeah.
milk banks.
Yeah.
And banks sometimes share resources with the hospitals that cannot operate. In short, it's not there's a lack of resources. It's
Yeah.
not institutionalized
Yeah.
yet.
And unless we come
Yes.
in and step in,
Yes.
it probably won't be a priority. So
It will not. And
yeah.
let's make it a priority.
Yes.
As we mentioned in our message, which you concurred with, premature. O ilan yan? Second, during disasters, when the parents or the families are in camps or what you call not refugee camps.
in prison
Or either in prison
or even-
or in disasters,
Yeah.
and there's no privacy and you're not able to give your milk. But if there are if there are milk banks, then it would be readily available. And I think the low percentage of children who are fed by breast milk would rise if we
Yes.
institutionalize the breast bank. So I'm glad to excite you on this issue, and I hope we can have, I'm certain, the cooperation of the Health Committee. So before the end of the year, we can institutionalize this and provide even an amendment if the chair of the Finance Committee would agree, at least to have regional milk banks for our children. So that is my intervention. I'm grateful to the good senator from Taguig and Pateros for bringing this very important nutritional, emotional issue for women and children and for families during breastfeeding month, which is this month of August.
Thank you,
Thank
Senator
you.
Lauren. I just also, before I want to end on this note, I thank the good senator for her interventions. I don't know if she missed it because I thought she stood up to discuss this point. I had earlier stated that breastfeeding is shown to affect several of the SDGs, including SDG 13 on climate action. So I thought that that's what Her Honor will discuss. But nevertheless, because I know that's close to her heart, I just want to say that, you know, when I see this, sometimes I have to pause a minute. Okay, what is the connection? Breastfeeding, climate change. Well, simple. Industrialization. The more industrialization we have, the more use of chemicals, the more combustion in the air, which is exactly what happens when you have to produce milk that comes in a can, that comes in plastic.
Yes.
So that's
through the
why if you
packaging
breastfeed,
of
exactly.
Yes. And as I mentioned, in disasters and such a vulnerable nation,
Yes.
20 typhoons a year or more, and those who are in temporary shelters in schools, we must provide the need of children who are breastfeeding with their mothers who live in disaster areas. So thank you for that, and we look forward to working with the committee and with Your Honor for the passage of this measure soonest. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Legarda. For the information of the ladies of the floor, Chair confirms that indeed that bill was referred to the Committee on Health,
Thank you. Thank you.
chaired by Senator Go. Majority Leader.
Yes, Mr. President. Last but not the least is the distinguished Deputy Minority Leader, no other than Senator Risa Ontiveros. I move that she be recognized, Mr. President.
Senator Risa Ontiveros is recognized for her interjection with the permission of the lady from Taguig.
Salamat tabi, Mr. President. Dear Senator from Taguig and Pateros, pakiramdam ko parang taunang ritual natin ito.
Yes, exactly.
Especially for us women here in the Senate.
Yes.
And I really anticipate it. And it's so meaningful
Thank you.
every year for all of us.
And so is your intervention, Your Honor.
Salamat po. And hopefully also for our kabaro who are witnessing these annual exchanges spurred by your privileged speeches. So if you would allow just a brief manifestation first and then my brief interpellation. So Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to associate myself with the privileged speech of our colleague, Senator Pia Cayetano. Sa totoo lang po, even my staff is grateful to her, Mr. President, for the breastfeeding lounge here in the Senate. Like her staff, as she has just mentioned, my staff are pump ladies. Strike anywhere, ika nga. Pero pasalamat po sila sa maganda nating breastfeeding lounge dito. Thanks to the good senator from Taguig and Pateros.
And our GAD office.
And our GAD office, yes. Senator Pia, mabuhay ang ating GAD office. Because truly, breastfeeding is not only a personal health choice, but a national development imperative. And as you have always pointed out, it's also a global imperative through the Sustainable Development Goals. Breastfeeding indeed protects our children, strengthens our families, and reduces the burden of disease on our healthcare system. Kaya pinasa namin ni Senator Pia ang maternity leave law sa ilalim ni nooy Senate President at ngayon Minority Leader Tito Soto because of the need to give longer, because also of the need to give longer breastfeeding time to our mothers and infants. But I wish to underscore one critical gap. While our laws on maternity leave and breastfeeding support are progressive, they benefit mainly those in formal employment.
Yes.
And the good senator has also referred to this in her speech.
Yes.
Millions of Filipino mothers in the gig and informal economy, delivery riders, partners, market vendors, tulad ng nabanggit nyo na rin, Senator Pia, online freelancers, even household workers continue to be left behind. These are women who do not have employers bound by law to provide maternity leave, lactation breaks, or even breastfeeding stations. Kung sino pa ang pinaka-nangangailangan ng suporta, sila pa ang hindi nakatatanggap. Maternity protection and breastfeeding should not be a privilege only for those with formal jobs. It should be the right of every mother and every child. If we are to uphold the intent of our laws and the Constitution's mandate to protect mothers and children, we must begin to craft measures that extend maternity benefits and breastfeeding support to these women. So I thank Senator Pia Cayetano, Mr. President, for championing this cause. And I hope we can work together to continue to ensure no mother is left behind. So now, dear Senator from Taguig and Pateros, just a few interpellation questions. Madam Sponsor, you have rightly emphasized the benefits of breastfeeding. Given your long advocacy, nakikita nyo rin po ba yung pangangailangan na, yun na nga, i-extend yung maternity benefit, maternity protection sa mga kabaro natin na nasa gig at saka informal economy na hindi pa nasasakupan ng ating mga kasalukuyang batas?
Yeah, so as Her Honor was pointing out this other women who are not in the formal economy, napaisip nga ako nung mga klase ng trabaho, no? So for example, ang nanay, work from home, may sarili siyang negosyo. In that sense, I would like to surmise na kontrolado niya yung oras niya, therefore may flexibility naman siya. Pero yung nasa gig, by law kasi, ang napagkakaalala ko, by law, we refer nga naman to an employer. So kung nagigig ka, di wala kayong employer-employee relationship, di ba? So baka doon tayo may gap na magandang amendment, di ba? Kasi so in other words, whenever there is a working mom performing her job, her principal or her client should recognize the fact that she is a breastfeeding mom and extend utmost support the same way we have provided in the law. For the record, compromise na nga po yung breastfeeding time na nilagay natin in the law. In the law, it is only 40 minutes. 20, you can take it twice 2020. And for those who have tried to express milk, ang swerte mo na kung in one breastfeeding session of 20 minutes, marami kang ma-express. Some can, but not me, I cannot in 20 minutes. Pero wala, these are compromises that we had to make with the business sector, with the industry. So ang dami pa talagang room for improvement, but perhaps we can start with a simple amendment that it's not just employer-employee, but any woman rendering service should have those needs of hers recognized. Thank you for that, dear Senator Risa.
Salamat po, dear lady from Taguigan, Pateros. Hindi lang sa suporta nyo sa pag-explore natin ng breastfeeding support sa mga women sa informal and gig economies, pati yung suggestion ninyo na I take it as a suggestion kasi it sparked an idea in my mind kung pwede rin nating tignan na madagdagan yung, di lang yung duration na 20 minutes, pero yung dami ng mga ganong breastfeeding breaks kung kakayanin. Kasi lalo na kung batang-bata pa yung baby, maalala natin, posibleng every 2 or every 3 hours
definitely.
kailangan
Kaya
po
nga
niya mag-breastfeed.
Totoo.
Opo.
Definitely. I think sa depende din sa klase ng work nila. Kaya I tried my very best to be understanding din dun sa industry nung kausap natin. I can imagine katulad sa trabaho natin, kung nagre-research or in my case yung mga abogado ko, ang dami nilang flexibility. They can even use my own room to lactate, or if they even bring their baby, it's fine with me. But not all have those kind of working arrangements, di ba? So we have to be creative in how we try to provide this kind of environment for mothers. And let's take note, Mr. President, I think we're doing a good job compared to other countries where hindi na nga nag-abalang bumalik sa workforce ang mga kababaihan kasi talagang they get very little support in the workforce. So let's try to keep improving and do better for them.
I'm with you there, Senator Pia. Now, in your view, ano kaya yung pinaka-feasible na mechanism? Whether yun ay PhilHealth, SSS, o kahit bagong social protection fund na pwedeng mag-provide ng income support para sa mga nanay sa informal sector para magkaroon sila ng panahon na mag-breastfeed exclusively sa unang 6 na buwan ng buhay ng baby nila.
Kasi nung pinasa natin, well, when we were working on the expanded maternity leave law, panay nga yung paliwanag natin sa industry na maliit lang yung tama nito sa inyo kasi dun yan kukunin sa SSS. Kung tama yung naaalala ko, employees receiving up to 40,000 a month, yung nando sa pay grade na yon, pasok na pasok yon. So karamihan naman ng rank and file, di ba, kahit mga supervisors, pasok pa naman sila doon. So wala na ngang idadagdag pa doon ang employer. Walang pabigat sa kanila. Kaya ang hirap intindihin na ba't ayaw niyong pumayag, di ba? Kesa sa naman yung babae niyan, hindi na magtrabaho, nawalan pa yung buong pamilya niya. Syempre manganganak yan I mean, most, at least in our country, still want to have children. Sa ibang bansa kasi maraming kababaihan ayaw na magkaroon ng anak. And that's something we have to be prepared for, ha? All over the world, in many industrialized countries, childbirth is being delayed, getting married is being delayed or not even happening anymore. So now is the time for us to think of programs that will still make it a dream for many. Ako, dream ko na magkaroon ng anak. Dream ko yon. Maybe not everybody shares that dream. Pero yan yung gusto natin, that people can raise their families and still be able to provide for them. So, pagkukunan, honestly, Mr. President, ako talaga, mas gusto ko na yung mga support targeted. So even if I look at the funding that we throw in, that we provide, DSWD, DOLE, I think ang first beneficiaries dapat dun yung working mothers, di ba? So baka we can creatively come up with programs that provide additional support for these mothers. And I need to share a very short story. Years ago, I was a new senator. The usual, may bagyo, calamity, tumulong ako doon, naabutan natin ng relief goods ang mga kababayan natin, di ba? But because of my involvement in women and in particular yung concern ko sa buntis at bagong panganak na mga nanay, sabi ko, gawa ng hiwalay na pila ang buntis at yung nagpapadede na nanay kasi yung goodie bag niya, yung relief bag niya, dagdagan nyo ng protein at dagdagan nyo ng tubig. 'Di ba kasi feeding 2 siya eh. So buntis ka, feeding 2, breastfeeding ka, feeding 2. Tapos as any breastfeeding mother knows, nakakauhaw, so tubig. And then I would make small chat with each mother I came across. O pang ilang pagbubuntis mo na yan, ilan na anak mo. Nalula akong sa sagot kasi yung sagot was pang 5, pang 7, pang 9. Sabi ko, aabot pa kaya sa nanay itong additional na 1 dosenang itlog? Eh siyam yung anak niya. Bigyan niya na lang tig-isa yun, halos wala nang natira sa kanya. So, as her honor knows, this issue is compounded. Walang simpleng solution. Pero I think yung target natin, yung beneficiary natin, simple, yung nanay. 'Di ba? Yung nanay. So we let's start with the target, the mothers, pregnant, and then lactating mothers. And what funds are available out there, let's pool it and try to support these mothers.
Salamat, Senator Pia. And I'm sure makakatulong din yung mga dagdag na pag-aaral. What's the cost-benefit analysis here? Para mapakita talaga natin that if we get to support through identified sources of funds, we get to support women working in the informal economy more na makapag-breastfeed. They will be able to raise healthier kids.
Exactly, true.
Diba? Who will
Very
learn
true.
better, eventually work better. So
Very
overall, add to the social capital of our
That's
of our
very true.
society at makatipid sa health expenses dahil
Totoo.
mas makaiiwas sila sa sakit.
Totoo yan. Lahat ng sinabi niyo, totoo.
Salamat po. Second to the last question. Would you agree, Madam Sponsor, na kung ang poprotektahan lamang natin yung mga women in the formal economy, we would risk widening inequality in child health outcomes. Dahil ngayon pa lang, yung poorer mothers, they often belong to the informal sector at sila talaga napipilitang bumalik agad sa trabaho pagkatapos mga anak. Kasi kung arawan lang yung sahod nila, yung talagang 1 day's off from work, 1 day's less ng konti pang dagdag na pera para sa mga anak nila.
I believe that the benefits should extend to both women in the formal economies and in the informal. Banggitin ko lang na dun sa speech ko mismo tsaka dun sa mga sagot ko dun sa mga colleagues natin na nagtanong din, in-emphasize ko din yung creating a breastfeeding environment. Kasi maraming kababaihan sa informal sector, exactly like the case of Senator Bato's mom, kaya naman niyang magdede dun sa kinalalagyan niya ng trabaho. Yun nga lang, asa nung si baby, dinadala pa sa kanya, di ba? So, may mga difficulties, pero pwede kung sa pwede. So, in that sense, as long as ipagpatuloy natin yung pagpopromote ng breastfeeding culture para anytime, anywhere, pwedeng magpadede, walang kahihiyan, hindi dapat mag-sorry dahil nagpapadede siya, hindi kailangan mag-excuse me, karapatan niya yun, pangangailangan ng anak niyon, then we make it easier for women in the informal sector pa rin to continue breastfeeding. As to the financial support, then baka nga dun pwedeng pumasok ang gobyerno, di ba?
Opo. And I'm glad nakapag-usap tayo tungkol sa tanong na to, a good lady from Taguigan, Pateros, Mr. President, dahil another way of appreciating the topic is, even if in a modest way, yung breastfeeding, kung susuportahan natin pareho sa mga babae sa formal economy at sa informal economy, even in a modest way, it can actually contribute to a more equitable society. Kasi mas mabibigyan ng level playing field, lalo na yung mga baby ng lahat ng mga babaeng makakapag-breastfeed kahit pa sa gig or sa informal economy nagtatrabaho. So just my last question, good lady from Taguig and Pateros. Tulad ni, I think it was Senator Erwin earlier, napansin ko rin po yung pinakita niyong data from the 90s up to now, the 2020s. Yung percentage lamang pala ng mga bata dapat of breastfeeding age na nakaka-achieve ng 100% breastfeeding at least for the first 6 months of life. So nagfluctuate between the 40% and the 30%. So
30%, yeah.
never talagang significantly nakakalampas dun sa halfway mark of 50%. Parang may ibang klaseng glass ceiling doon. And I recall, dear Senator Pia, sabi nyo nga, you have been delivering speeches to champion this advocacy for the last 2 decades. So parang isang henerasyon na yon. So now my last question is, right? So may mga baby noon na ngayon, nagtatapos na sila.
Botante na.
At botante na. Nagtatapos na
Baka
sa pag-aaral.
nag-college na, yes.
Baka nagka-college na. Eventually, sila rin magtatagoy ng sariling mga pamilya. So maybe it's a generational question. What do you think it would take, the one most important action or at most 3 most important actions para we can break through that floor or that glass ceiling and really bring our society into that that space na higit kalahati man lang sa mga babies natin ay na-enjoy po nila yung full breastfeeding at least for the first 6 months of life, Mr. President.
Well, I think the most accurate answer should be data-driven, di ba?
Yes.
So, di ko alam kung meron tayong data na magsasabing bakit ka tumigil. I remember before, I don't have it in my speech, but I remember before, I did have information. Ano yung top reasons kung ba't tumitigil mag-breastfeed? And number 1 is really returning to work. I mean, it's a practical, di ba? It's practical whether informal ka, formal ka. Syempre, the fact na bumalik ka sa work, hindi mo na physically kasama yung baby mo, it requires a change in your day-to-day practice. Like in my case, kahit saan ako pumunta, bit-bit ko yung pump na yan. At kahit saan ako pumunta, every 2 to 3 hours, expected ko na nasasakit na yung dibdib ko. I have to excuse myself. Lahat na yata ng klaseng lugar nakapag-pump ako with my children. So the transition from being a stay-at-home mom and being able to breastfeed 24/7 to going about your day-to-day chores would already, I think, create percentage decline in breastfeeding moms. But siguro, banggitin natin yung, hindi ko masyado nabanggit ngayon, pero I remember in the last previous year, kino-comment ko din yung mga colleagues natin na naging supportive breastfeeding fathers. Ang laking factor noon. Kasi kung si father magsiselos pa dahil walang time sa kanya, or sasabihin, yung ibang anak hindi naaasikaso, or yung bahay magulo, didagdag pa yan sa problema ng mga nanay, di ba? Kasi problema na nga nila yan, nagkabago pa silang baby, another responsibility. So, I think the support, kaya nga, in many speeches I've given in the past, the focus was on supporting the mother during this time, the whole family, from the husband to the ate, to the kuya, really supporting that breastfeeding journey. Kasi madaling bumitaw at hindi siguro nila, syempre kung ikaw yung nanay, hindi mo naman inaaral tong data na to, I don't know kung and by the way, Your Honor, that's why it was very important to include in the law na ito is ini-include din sa med school. Kasi not all doctors, and I've talked to, not yung personal pedya ng mga anak ko, but I've talked to a lot of doctors na wala naman yan masyado sa sermon nila sa mga nanay. From the OB, sana tuloy-tuloy yun, di ba? From the barangay health worker to the doctor na nagbibigay ng prenatal hanggang sa check-up ni baby, lahat yun talagang dinidiktik sa kanya, breastfeed. We can do better with all of those, I believe, Your Honor.
I
Mr.
agree.
President.
And thank you, gentle lady from Taguig and Pateros, for, I think, the most important clue you've given us today dun sa pag-cite nyo ng pinaka-importanting dahilan bakit tumitigil sa full
Yung work.
breastfeeding before the 6 months at least for women going back to work, including sa gig at informal economy. So ibig sabihin, once we leave the most conducive breastfeeding environment, which is the
Exactly.
home, di sana katulong nung babae yung
Environment
workplace.
na yan,
Yes,
yes.
para dun din maglikha ng breastfeeding environment, such as we have been creating here at the Senate. So maraming salamat po kay Senator Pia Cayetano, Mr. President. Lastly, I have filed Senate Bill 566, Magna Carta for Women in the Informal Economy, precisely to help bridge this gap that we have been talking about. At sana po, magkaisa din kami ni Senator Pia at lahat ng mga kabaro natin dito. Yan, si Senator Loren din na nag-interpolate din kanina sa layuning ito. Maraming salamat po, Senator Pia.
Babasahin ko po
Salamat,
yung
Mr.
bill nyo na
President.
yan at I will share my ideas on how to improve the lives of our women in the informal sector, especially with this issue on breastfeeding their babies. Thank you so
Thank
much
you very much.
for the Deputy Minority Floor Leader's interventions.
With due thanks to our Deputy Minority Floor Leader, Majority Floor Leader.
Yes, Mr. President, may I just put into the records of this August chamber our sincerest thanks and gratitude to our dear colleague, Senator Pia Cayetano, for yearly and regularly reminding us not just to support her advocacy, but also reminding us that we can make a difference and we could be of help in any way. And so again, we put our full support to her advocacy. With that, Mr. President, I move that we refer the privileged speech of Senator Pia Cayetano and all the interpellations and manifestations thereon to the Committee on Health and Demography. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, motion is approved, and congratulations to Senator Pia Cayetano.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, at this juncture, I move that we proceed with additional reference of business.
Any objection? Hearing none, Secretary is directed to comply.
Second additional reference of business resolutions. Proposed Resolution 75, directing the proper Senate Committee to conduct an inquiry into the surge of leptospirosis cases in flood-prone areas and to recommend measures for the identification and mapping of barangays with high infection rates, for the targeted and efficient distribution of mobile clinics, prophylaxis, and other preventive interventions in this area, Senator Tulfo R.
To the Committee on Health and Demography.
76, congratulating and commending the Philippine Women's National Ice Hockey Team for winning the gold medal at the 2025 International Hockey Federation Women's Asia Cup, held on 6 June 2025 in Al Ain, United Arab Emirates, Senator Marcos.
To the Committee on Rules.
77, directing the Senate Committee on Women, Children, Family Relations, and Gender Equality to conduct an inquiry on the alleged cases of child abuse and the rescued 156 children under the custody of Pastor Jeremy Ferguson of the New Life Baptist Church of Mexico, Pampanga, and all other abuses committed in orphanages and other alternative care facilities, with the end in view of strengthening child protection laws and reinforcing regulations and oversight of public and private child care institutions, Senator Ontiveros.
To the Committee on Women, Children, Family Relations, and Gender Equality.
78, directing the appropriate Senate Committee to conduct an inquiry into the incident involving the falling of cement debris from a condominium building in Quezon City that severely injured a 12-year-old student, with the end in view of strengthening laws and safety regulations on building maintenance and public safety in common areas of condominiums and other structures, Senator Tulfo
To the
R.
Committee on Public Works and Urban Planning, Housing, and Resettlement.
79, directing the Committee on Foreign Relations to conduct an inquiry into the status of the country's One China policy and the risk of and obligations that such policy may entail, Senator Marcos.
To the Committee on Foreign Relations.
80, congratulating and giving due recognition to young athlete Zach Guico for his outstanding performance in the U.S. Kids World Golf Championships, capturing first place in the Boys 7 Years Division, Senator Aquino.
To the Committee on Rules.
81, directing the appropriate Senate Committee to conduct an inquiry into the alleged corrupt practices and anomalies involving certain officials of the NBI, particularly on issues concerning illegal searches and seizures, the disappearance and misuse of seized items, and unlawful detention, Senator Marcos.
To the Committee on Accountability of Public Officers and Investigations, Majority Floor Leader.
Yes, Mr. President. Mr. President, at this juncture, I move that we consider and adopt proposed Senate Resolution number 32. This is the resolution congratulating Mark Magnifico Magsayo for his hard-won victory, claiming the World Boxing Council Continental America's Super Featherweight title. So move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, motion is approved. The resolution number 32 is hereby adopted.
Thank you, Mr.
Majority
President.
Leader.
Mr. President, this juncture, I move that we consider and adopt proposed Senate Resolution number 33. This is the resolution commending and congratulating Yumir Marshall for his recent boxing victory. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, motion is approved. Proposed Senate Resolution number 33 is hereby adopted.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that we consider and adopt proposed Senate Resolution number 43, taking into considerations proposed Senate Resolution numbers 46 and 61. This is the resolution congratulating and commending Alexandra Alex Maniego Ayala for her historic achievements and outstanding contributions to Philippine tennis. So move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, motion is approved. Proposed Senate Resolution number 43, taking into consideration proposed Senate Resolution numbers 46 and 61 is hereby adopted.
Mr. President, I move that we consider and adopt proposed Senate Resolution number 45. This is the resolution commending and congratulating Alas Pilipinas, the national women's volleyball team, for winning the silver medal in the 2025 Asian Volleyball Confederation AVC Women's Nations Cup, marking the country's best finish in the Asian level tournament in 64 years. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, proposed Senate Resolution number 45 is hereby adopted.
Mr. President, at this juncture, I move that we consider and adopt proposed Senate Resolution number 47, taking into consideration proposed Senate Resolution number 73. This is the resolution commending and congratulating Filipino pool player Carlo Biado for winning the 2025 World Pool Championship held from 21 to 26 of July 2025 in Jeddah, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and becoming the first Filipino to win the prestigious title twice. I so move, Mr. President.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, the resolution is here. Proposed Senate Resolution number 47, taking into consideration proposed Senate Resolution number 73 is hereby adopted.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that we consider and adopt proposed Senate Resolution number 48, taking into consideration proposed Senate Resolution number 56. This is the resolution commending and congratulating Strong Group Philippines basketball team for winning the championship in the 44th William Jones Cup men's tournament held from 12 to 20 of July 2025 in New Taipei City, Taiwan. So move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, proposed Senate Resolution number 48, taking into consideration proposed Senate Resolution number 56 is hereby adopted.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that we consider and adopt proposed Senate Resolution number 57. This is the resolution commending and congratulating the Philippine Under-16 Boys National Football Team for their historic and triumphant victory in securing the championship title at the 29th Lion City Cup held in Singapore. So move, Mr. President.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, proposed Senate Resolution number 57 is hereby adopted.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that we consider and adopt proposed Senate Resolution number 58. This is the resolution commending and congratulating the Philippine men's curling team for winning the gold medal at the Asian Winter Games held in Harbin, China. So move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, proposed Senate Resolution number 58 is hereby adopted.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. At this juncture, I move that we consider and adopt proposed Senate Resolution number 59. This is the resolution commending and congratulating Corion Cream for winning the World Championship title in the Open Division of the 2025 World Supremacy Battlegrounds in Dubai. So move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, proposed Senate Resolution number 59 is hereby adopted.
Mr. President, I move that we consider and adopt proposed Senate Resolution number 60. This is the resolution commending and congratulating the Makati Football Club Girls Under-13 team for capturing the championship title in the 2025 Gothia World Youth Cup held in Gothenburg, Sweden. So move, Mr. President.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, proposed Senate Resolution number 60 is hereby adopted.
Mr. President, just some administrative matters.
The Majority Leader may proceed.
With the permission of the body, upon the instruction of the chairperson of the Committee on Justice and Human Rights, I move to elect Senator Bongo, Vice Senator Mark Villar as member of the said committee. So move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, the aforementioned member is so elected to the Committee on Justice and Human Rights.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And at this juncture and pursuant to Rule 10, Section 18, and upon instruction of the chairperson of the Committee on Cultural Communities and Muslim Affairs, may I respectfully manifest the designation of Senator Loren Legarda as additional vice chairperson of the said committee.
Any objection? Hearing none, Senator Legarda is so designated to the Committee on Cultural Communities and Muslim Affairs.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And Mr. President, with the consent of the body and upon the instruction of Senator Alan Peter Cayetano and with the conformity of Senator Bam Aquino, I move to transfer the primary committee referral of Senate Bill number 102, Makakapagtapos Ako Act of 2025, and Senate Bill number 103, the Third Commission on Education Act, from the Committee on Basic Education to the Committee on Higher Technical and Vocational Education, and to make secondary committee referrals of the same measures to the Committees on Basic Education and Finance. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, motion of the majority leader is hereby approved.
Mr. President, with the permission of the body, I move that we dispense with the reading of the Journal of the 10th Session, Monday, August 18, 2025, and consider the same as approved. So move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, motion of the majority leader approving the journal for the 10th session, Monday, August 18 is hereby approved.
Mr. President, I move that we adjourn the session until 3 o'clock in the afternoon of Wednesday, August 20, 2025.
Any objection? There being none, session is adjourned until 3 o'clock in the afternoon of Wednesday, 20 August 2025.
Thank you, Mr. President.